Hi, this is Dr. Richard Ruling here on the Total Health Channel. Thanking you for visiting again and taking a look at the seals that we've been discussing. We have been dealing with the second seal and how it takes peace from the earth. What I failed to share with you is how it fits the context of the thunders of Revelation 10:3. When a mighty angel comes down from heaven and cries mightily as a lion's roar, we earlier said that that roar is an encoded earthquake. Just like you see earthquake before the seven trumpets, a page before in Revelation 8:5, we see a lion's roar or earthquake before the seven thunders. But another verse, a favorite author of mine says that all the books of the Bible meet and end in the Revelation. And if we know where, we can see where it's coming from. 1 Samuel 2 verse 10 says that the Lord will thunder from heaven and exalt the horn of his anointed. We've been discussing the horns of Daniel 8th chapter. There are seven horns like seven thunders, okay? And bottom line is that we have seen how that the ram with two horns probably represents a Muslim militant ram with horns originally of Medes and Persians, it says in verse 20. But Gabriel said in verse 17 that this vision is at the time of the end. And in our time, the Medes and Persians are Iraq and Iran. And it's half fulfilled. We've already broken the horn of Saddam, and he's dead, okay? Now the next war is not China, Russia, Korea, but it's Persia or Iran. And I'm confident we will go there very soon, depending on circumstances this spring, which could be the destruction of Jerusalem. As Zechariah 14:1 and 2 says, all nations will be gathered. First of all, it says, by the way, that the day of the Lord comes. That's the end time period. And it was signaled in 2015 by half a dozen events. The sun shall be darkened, moon turned to blood before the day of the Lord. But the word before means paniym, face or facing. Those events were facing end times. And along with when they say peace and safety, sudden destruction comes, Iran nuclear deal. And again, in 2017, the UN had those words, peace and safety, as part of their theme for the year. So sudden destruction is coming. And again, Christ's words, when you see abomination standing where it ought not. I like the wording in Mark 13:14. And we saw several abominations. Leviticus 18 verse 22 says that to lie mankind with mankind as with womankind is an abomination. And we saw that standing where it ought not in the Supreme Court. And then we saw a military, the early believers understood it was the Roman army in 66 AD when Cestius came and he surrounded Jerusalem as if he was about to attack. That was the signal, and Christians got out of there. They fled the city, and they were spared a siege. Millions died later in Jerusalem. Horrible scenes of depravity when Titus came back 3.5 years later. The point is that we are 3 years, and this spring is 3.5 from when another abomination stood where it ought not. The Pope stood in U.S. Congress, ought not to be there. The next day he stood in the UN. Doesn't belong really, except that is his effort to gain control of the world, and he ultimately will ride the beast of New World Order. That's the image beast. In Revelation 13, the U.S. second beast, lamb-like beast, makes an image of the previous papal beast, and UN is what we got. And in Revelation 17:3, a harlot is riding that beast. That's the Pope represents the harlot or unfaithful church, trying to use force and government, trying to make laws to get people to conform to their rules and guidelines. Like Pope John Paul wrote the book Jes Domini. It's about Sunday. And this Pope wrote Laudato Si, also about Sunday. You can look at an online PDF, paragraphs 236, 237. It's so greenhouse gases is just a smokescreen. We want to close businesses so we can have family values and attend the Eucharist, the benefits of their communion on Sunday. Not a good idea. Mingling church and state was the focus of persecution through the Dark Ages when they tried to do it then, and God opened up this country for freedom, but somehow we haven't honored the Constitution, and we now have Catholics overflowing our border by the millions since the days of Morse code. The inventor of the Morse code, Samuel Morse, was worried about the Catholic immigration from Ireland 180 years ago. It's been going, and we are overflowed. Maryland surrounds Washington, D.C., and the graduates of Georgetown University Jesuit School are infiltrating not only Congress, but religious denominations, so that there's no noise or protests hardly. Protestantism is essentially dead almost, but we are at the end, and big trouble coming, impending, I believe, this year, and we should be ready for it. So, bottom line, the horn events of Daniel 8 are the thunder events of Revelation 10:3. And we've been looking at how 7 horns. God ultimately, though, is going to exalt the horn of his anointed, as it says in 1 Samuel 2:10. We can be that anointed. We can be that group. God is going to give power to those who are ready. And I'd just like to extend good news to you as to how that can be. When the disciples wanted to know if God is going to restore the kingdom to Israel in Acts 1:6, Christ didn't tell them, no, it'll never be. But he didn't want to say it's going to be 2,000 years, because they'd have gone back to fishing. So he said it's not for you to know the times and seasons, but Paul says we do know the times and seasons. How? Paul, in the previous verses, was putting himself into the end time. When we which are alive and remain will be caught up, and of the times and seasons we know perfectly, he says. We really don't yet, but we need to get it straight. And he says, for the day, because the day of the Lord, which is the end time period, will come as a thief when they're saying peace and safety. And we've just said that was the Iran nuclear treaty in 2015. It was the UN theme for 2017. We should expect end-time events as travail on a woman with child. That was Egypt. When judgment came upon Egypt, God executed judgment and took Israel to a covenant. The covenant made them his kingdom and his bride. So the wedding parable and the time of judgment on us, like Egypt, is impending. Egypt killed babies. We've killed 70 million, okay, aborted them. And now they're saying infanticide is okay in some states, half a dozen states. Murder, is this country will not come back and be this nation it was supposed to be. God is going to make a full end, he said in Jeremiah 30, verse 11. And Daniel 2 also shows a stone kingdom cut out of a mountain. Only use of the word mountain in the book of Daniel is Jerusalem, my holy mountain. Out of his people, he's going to cut a stone kingdom. And we can be there. We can do that if we're ready. So please consider these seals. We've looked at now the first and the second seal, how peace is taken from the earth. The third seal is a black horse, a measure of wheat for a penny, and 3 measures of barley for a penny. This is famine. And Isaiah 24, verse 5 and 6 says, because they have not kept my laws, this is why the land is desolated. So the reason, the link that I'm wanting to give you for the famine that's coming after these wars is the fact that we have not honored God's laws in regard to the land. Originally, God sent them into captivity for the time period when they had not observed the Sabbath for the land. Every 7th year they were to rest their land, just like every 7th day we're supposed to rest. So that's the idea. It honors and respects the Sabbath commandment. Bottom line is that we are really where it's about to happen, and we should understand it. And the wedding parables give us better information. They imply we're asleep with the lights out. The last message to the last church, Laodicea, has 7 parallels to Luke's wedding parable, where there's a knock, we're to open. The meal that we get in Luke 12:37 is like, if to him that I stand at the door and knock. If any man hears my voice and opens the door, I will come in and sup with him. There's the meal too. They both have a meal, and if we do so, he will share his throne. He says, to him that overcometh will I grant to sit with me on my throne. But in Luke 12:44, he will make us ruler over all that he has. So ruler over all is the same as sitting with him on his throne. Parallelism, but we haven't seen the Laodicean message as a wedding message. And the knock is probably an earthquake, because that's how the Laodicean church ended. We think, oh, things are going great. Business is better under Trump. Well, hang on, we're not there yet. And this year, I believe if we see Jerusalem compassed with armies in the spring, A month later, as in the days of Noah, second spring month for Passover, time of judgment, huge earthquake, I believe. And that will be a response when in Zechariah 14:1 and 2, all nations gather against Jerusalem and take it. But then it says in verse 3, then the Lord will go forth and fight. And I believe he will roar. It says, the Lord shall roar, the heavens and earth will shake. And if you've ever heard a lion's roar, it's scary. Okay, it's to fear God, give glory to him. And those people that don't believe in, belong in Jerusalem will be frightened out of there, I believe. But that earthquake will probably shake the whole earth. And everybody can know time of judgment is impending. Thank you for considering this. God bless you. Let's stay with me. Like this thing if you did like the information and found it interesting. Stay with us for another seal, the fourth seal. I'm going to try to do these daily if you want to look, or over the weekend is coming starting tomorrow. So thank you for considering it, and God bless you.